Pakistan. There's been yet another blast out in Pakistan. This time it's a blast outside a mosque in Peshawar during the noon prayers, and the reports are that at least 50 have been injured in in this Peshawar blast. Let's go across to Imtiaz Gul, who's joining us from Pakistan. Imtiaz Gul joining us right now, senior journalist in Pakistan. Imtiaz Gul, what details can you tell us about this horrific blast? What's the latest, and is it true, according to some reports, that this was a suicide attacker who was in the mosque pretending to be one of the many persons there to pray?
Well, apparently this was a suicide attack, and pretty big one, because as a result of the blast, the roof caved in, and as a result, because it was a prayers time, so a lot of people got buried under that. So as of now, as we speak, at least 28 people have breathed their last, while about at least a dozen are critically injured. So we don't know as to how many of them will really survive. But this has been one of the biggest suicide attacks in the city of Peshawar so far in the last 20 years.
What can you tell us about, possibly the timing, because it is a Monday, normally Friday is the day of prayers. That's when we have in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, we've heard of blasts. That's when blasts have been taking place, blasts of this nature. But what can you tell us about the background, the possibility of why today, why this mosque? What can you tell us about this mosque in particular?
Well, it's difficult to conjecture as to the motives or the timing of the attack, but it's very obvious that it reflects the continuation of the proxy terrorism that Pakistan has been facing, particularly since December. Although there was a lull, quite 2 to 3 weeks, we didn't hear any big attack. But this one is pretty serious, with the heavy casualties, and the obvious objective is obviously to instill terror, to create uncertainty, cause fear among the people. And the attackers chose a time when this mosque, which is situated in a pretty busy area, was hosting prayers, the midday prayers. And that's why we have seen so many casualties.
And in terms of taking care of those right now, the immediate need of taking care of those who would possibly be injured, is it central enough that they're being taken to hospitals nearby?
Yeah, there are a couple of hospitals nearby, and that's not an issue. The issue is how to wade through the congested streets of Peshawar, because this is a busy business area. And as it happens in many other countries or cities, like also those in India, it becomes a logistic operation, a logistical nightmare for the rescuers. And that's why there have been repeated appeals by the officials to the people to stay indoors and to clear the roads so that they can transport the injured, and also clear up the mess that has ensued after this massive blast.
Also, in terms of the investigation, perhaps yet too early to ask who could be behind this, but is there anything you could tell us about that?
Well, in the past, all fingers have been pointed towards the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. This is a proxy terrorist group that has been inflicting pain on Pakistan across the northwestern frontier province, as well as in collusion with the partners in the southwestern province of Balochistan. So they appear to be the primary culprits, and they also have basically publicly vowed to continue hitting Pakistan's interests. But this attack on a mosque is quite novel, at least in the past couple of years, because TTP had mostly been targeting security forces, both the military as well as the police and paramilitary. But in this case, this is something that has happened after quite a while. And that shows also, once again, underlines the proxy nature of terrorism, that it certainly doesn't have any method other than just creating instability, creating fear among the people.
There was also a horrific phase when there were attacks, particularly on schools and school-going children who were being targeted. Lastly, we have the Pakistani Prime Minister issuing a statement condemning the bombings, vowing stern action against those who are behind the attacks. The former Prime Minister, Imran Khan, has also condemned the bombings. Politically, how is this likely to play out?
Well, there were some fears that somehow the government may take cover of the volatile security situation and not hold elections to the provincial assembly that are due now within next about 80 days. But this could be a conjecture where we are not sure. However, it obviously creates a big volatility, and then if there are a couple of more such incidents, that obviously they will draw consultations and among the stakeholders as to whether to go for the elections. I mean, we had witnessed similar situation back in 2013 before the elections, which was quite bloody weeks, devastating for a lot of people, both in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province as well as in Sindh and parts of Balochistan. But the elections did go ahead as planned then. The same thing happened partially also in 2018. So we are not sure whether we can really link this act of terrorism to elections. We saw in the month of December alone about 26 similar attacks, and mostly concentrated in the same province. And this seemed to be a design behind that terror campaign, because on 28th of November, the TTP had called off the ceasefire agreement that it had signed with the government in June the previous year, in 2021. So this attack seems to be a continuation of that proxy terrorist campaign that Pakistan has been facing, and that has mostly concentrated in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province.